Anti-authoritarian literature explores how power deforms truth, corrodes moral responsibility, and recruits ordinary people into systems that demand obedience at the expense of human dignity. Hello, welcome to my channel. Another Bibliophile Reads. Today I want to introduce the top 13 anti-authoritarian novels that everyone should read. Modern authoritarianism rarely announces itself as tyranny. It advances through familiarity, fatigue, fear, and the promise of order, often with public consent. I want to present what has been written about authoritarian regimes in the past and wonder why people can't learn from reading. Anti-authoritarian literature isn't a formal literary genre, but is a coherent mode, tradition, and ethical orientation that cuts across genres, periods, and styles. What anti-authoritarian literature is? Anti-authoritarian literature examines, resists, or undermines systems of power that demand obedience, suppress individuality, or enforce ideological conformity. Its central concern is not merely bad governments, but the psychology, language, and social mechanisms that make domination possible. These top 13 anti-authoritarian novels span over a century, multiple continents, and diverse regimes: fascism, communism, dictatorship, theocracy, corporate control, colonialism, and they only cover a fraction of what is available. I will be going through these books in a lightning round, giving you only a brief description of each one and some of my comments. Book 1, We by Yevgeny Zamyatin, published in 1924, Russia. A groundbreaking dystopian novel that imagines a rigidly ordered future society where individuality is outlawed. Zamyatin's vision of surveillance and control influenced Orwell's 1984 and remains a touchstone for debates about freedom and conformity. I have read this book twice in 2 different translations from the original Russian. It is rather more difficult to get into than some of the other novels of this type, but its vision of its future is still disturbing. You wonder how these people got this way, and you wonder about the pink ticket. The pink ticket is something in the book, and essentially everyone is assigned a pink ticket, and it guarantees you sexual relationships with the person of your choice. Now that is very disturbing because, as I remember, you can't refuse someone who gives you a pink ticket. If I had read this when I was a 14-year-old boy, I probably would have been going, oh, hell yes. But as an adult man, I'm thinking, hell no, not only for myself, but for the people that you might choose, because they have no free will. And that is the thing about this we. You have no free will. Book 2, The Trial by Franz Kafka, published in German, 1925. He was from the Austria-Hungarian Empire. Franz Kafka's haunting allegory of modern bureaucracy follows Joseph K., a man arrested and prosecuted by a mysterious court without ever being told his crime, a masterpiece of absurdist anxiety. It captures the helplessness of life under faceless authority. Kafka is unique. He is one of the few authors who have an adjective named after him, Kafkaesque, because the world Kafka brings you into is totally bizarre, but engaging and intriguing. You wonder about this mysterious court that has all this power, but never tells you what your crime is. You feel persecuted, but you do not know why you are persecuted. What a magnificent novel. Book 3, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, published in 1932, from the United Kingdom. Huxley envisions a world where social stability is maintained through genetic engineering, consumerism, and pleasure. Unlike Orwell's 1984, this dystopia controls people not with fear, but with comfort, raising unsettling questions about freedom and happiness. This book is in many ways more disturbing than 1984. I read it in a book group in the beginning of, I believe it was 2025, and a lot of people did not like this book. I loved this book. But the reason I think people did not like it is because they feared it more than 1984. There is something eerie and unnatural about controlling people with pleasure through consumerism, saying if you just have enough goods available to you, your life will be happy, and it doesn't matter how bad society is, how much it controls you. You will be forced to be happy. And that, I think, is what makes this book truly disturbing. Number 4, It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, published in 1935 in the United States of America. Written during the rise of fascism in Europe, Lewis's novel imagines an authoritarian regime taking power in the United States. A cautionary tale, it warns how democracy can erode under the promise of strength and order. This book, when I first read it in the 2000s, maybe the 2010, I thought it was clever. It was interesting, and I agreed with the author. It can't happen here, I told myself. And then came 2016, and there was a book of essays called Could It Happen Here? And the result of that book of essays was, oh no, there's too much control of the rule of law in the United States. It can't happen here. And now we are in 2026, and the title should be, It's Happening Here. Our country is under or becoming controlled by an authoritarian. It's happening now. This book was a premonition of what could possibly happen. What Lewis said wouldn't happen, but what is happening. I am going to be reading this book as an audiobook at the end of January. Book number 5, Darkness at Noon by Arthur Koestler, published in 1940. He was from Hungary and the UK. Set during Stalin's purges, this political classic follows a loyal revolutionary imprisoned by the very regime he helped build. It is a stark portrait of ideology, brutality, and the crushing machinery of totalitarian power. I believe this book was originally written in German, maybe it was written in Hungarian, but the original novel does not survive. If I am correct, the earliest version that is available is its English translation. And while this book is definitely about Stalin's purges, Koestler does not name the Soviet Union in this book as the location of the story. Maybe it was a little bit of plausible deniability, but I think it was Koestler saying, well, yeah, it's Stalin's Russia, but it could be any country that follows under such a regime with such power. Take heed, take warning. This is a magnificent novel. Book number 6, Every Man Dies Alone by Hans Fallada, published in 1947 in Germany. Based on a true story, Fallada's novel depicts an ordinary Berlin couple quietly resisting Nazi rule. Their small acts of defiance become both a personal struggle for dignity and a reminder of courage in dark times. I originally read this book in the early 10s before 2016, and I liked it. I thought it was an interesting book, but it did not gel with me. I thought it was just okay. I recently reread it in 2025. And wow, what a punch. What power I recognized in this novel, having gained more knowledge that authoritarian regimes can take rise in any country. This again is a story of an ordinary Berlin couple resisting Nazi rule. They are resisting by dropping small postcards with anti-Nazi slogans. At first, it is just the husband. And then the wife asks the husband, "Why are you doing this? This is so petty. What can you possibly hope to achieve?" And the husband replies, "I have to do something. This is the only thing I can do. We must resist in any way that we can, however small, however petty." And that is a powerful message. Book number 7, 1984, by George Orwell, published in 1949 in the United Kingdom. Orwell's iconic dystopia portrays a world of relentless surveillance, propaganda, and thought control. Its vision of Big Brother remains one of the most powerful warnings about authoritarianism ever written. Okay, you knew 1984 had to be on this list, and with good reason. It is the iconic, most powerful book about authoritarian rule ever written, in my humble opinion. It is of such power that the image, Big Brother is watching you, is very relevant, very recognizable to almost any reader in the modern day. But if you have not read 1984 before, you need to introduce yourself to Winston Smith, to Julia, and what you may find in room 101. Book number 8, Fahrenheit 451, by Ray Bradbury, 1953, in the United States of America. In the future where books are outlawed and firemen burn them, one man begins to question society's blind conformity. Bradbury's poetic classic explores censorship, mass media, and the fight to preserve ideas. This again is one of the great works of science fiction and one of the great works of anti-authoritarian literature. It is the height of irony that a novel about banning books is often one of the most frequently banned books in the United States of America. But more than that, it is the story of Guy Montag, a man who's assigned to burn books and slowly learns to discover that there is so much to gain by reading books, and the knowledge they contain can change your life for the better. Book number 9, One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, by Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, 1962, in the USSR. A stark yet humane account of a single day in a Soviet labor camp, told through the eyes of an ordinary prisoner. Solzhenitsyn's novel opened a window onto the realities of Stalinist repression. I first read this novel when I was at the University of Maryland. I picked it up on a whim when I was reading other books for other classes, and I did not put this book down. It is that captivating, and yet it is that simple. As I said, it's the story of one man in a Soviet labor camp. How exciting could that be? And yet it is truly gripping. One of the most powerful scenes are the prisoners assigned to build a wall. And yet they want to build this wall right. So they get together and build this wall, brick by brick, with mortar on mortar and brick, or something along those lines. A very powerful scene, yet it contains that essence of human dignity, that even though you are repressed, you are still a human being. Book 10, The Handmaid's Tale, by Margaret Atwood, 1985. She is from Canada. In the Republic of Gilead, women are reduced to their reproductive function. Atwood's chilling vision of theocracy and control explores gender, power, and the resilience in the face of oppression. Every torture that women undergo in this book, Margaret Atwood explained in a later comment, has happened to real women in the real world. She did not make anything up about the tortures that these women received. And the end of The Handmaid's Tale is powerful. Not the after chapter that she stuck on, but the very last chapter with the main character, Offred, because that expresses to me, as a reader, the true danger of living in an authoritarian regime. You just have no power. And also, as a quip, I have heard people say, let's make The Handmaid's Tale fiction again. Now, isn't that a scary thing to think about? Book 11, Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler, published in 1993. Butler was from the United States of America. Set in a collapsing near-future America, Butler's novel follows a young woman who develops a new belief system as she leads a group of refugees, a prophetic exploration of survival, faith, and social breakdown. This is another novel, like It Can't Happen Here, that has eerie premonitions of what the United States would become, and no one believed Butler, believing that the United States could become this dystopian authoritarian future. But yet there are eerie similarities with our current regime. She predicted things that we thought would not happen, and yet they are happening now. Why is it that these novels from the past tell us what could happen, and yet readers and other people neglect their vision, neglect their word? We are letting this happen to our society by our own free will. Another scary thought. Book 12, The Orphan Master's Son by Adam Johnson, 2012. Johnson is from the United States of America. Winner of the Pulitzer Prize, this novel plunges into life under North Korea's dictatorship. Both harrowing and darkly satirical, it explores identity, propaganda, and the search for humanity in a closed society. This novel was published before the current leader in North Korea, Kim Jong-un, took power. This is about his father. And if you don't know how bad life could be in North Korea, you should read this book because it is terrifying. You truly do not want to live in North Korea. I will give one brief scene from this book. There is a father talking to his child. I can't remember if the child is a son or the daughter. I read this book at least 10 years ago, but that does not matter. We'll tell the father is telling his child, if the authorities ask you to denounce me, because if you do not denounce me, I will not survive, and you will not survive. If you survive me, you have the chance of survival. Think about that. A parent telling his child, denounce me, save your own life. That is the fear that they live in North Korea. Book 13, Human Acts by Han Kang, published in 2014. She is from South Korea. A powerful novel about the 1980 Gwangju uprising in South Korea and its violent suppression. Han Kang weaves together multiple voices to show the lasting scars of authoritarian violence on individuals and society. Essentially, this book is 4 or 5 shorter stories, but they weave an entire story together. You see how life in South Korea evolved and changing under this uprising. Now, this uprising was a peaceful demonstration with students and civilians, yet the authorities in South Korea ordered soldiers to open fire and gun them down. The first story is a young boy. He is a student. He was at this uprising or event, and he saw his friend shot down. He's not sure if his friend is dead. So he goes to a gymnasium where they are storing the bodies of the dead, and he is looking through the dead to see if he can find his friend. And then he volunteers to help other people examine the dead to see if they could find their loved ones. It is not known exactly how many people died in the Gwangju uprising. Could be hundreds, but it's most likely thousands. And I never really thought of South Korea as an authoritarian regime, but I guess it was in the 80s. This is why it's important to read these books, because you learn things. And you learn things about what our society could be like if we let it get that far. Okay, there is my list of the top 13 anti-authoritarian novels that I think everyone should read. In reality, there are a lot of other anti-authoritarian novels that are equally as good. Some people may say some of them are better. I will provide an extended list of anti-authoritarian novels gathered in part through research. I have not read all of them, so I can't personally vouch for all of them, but I wanted to make a more complete list. I have my doubts about a few, if they really belong on this list, but somewhere someone thought them appropriate. So go look in the description of this video and see my complete list of anti-authoritarian novels. And tell me, did I get the right 13, or should I pick some of the other ones? Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.